going on, y'all? It's Nick with Bear Family Farms. Question we get asked a lot is how many goats can you stock per acre? And there's a couple quick points I want to go over. Try and make it as short as possible, just to keep you guys interested. But the textbook answer is going to be to contact your ag extension office, and they will let you know kind of for your area what they believe to be the correct amount of goats or sheep or cows or whatever you raise is going to be for your particular area. But you know, our answer is there's a lot of contributing factors that go into that question. One of the main ones being, you know, what are your goals? Are you after genetics? Are you trying to build a goat that can survive out on the pasture, not up by the house with feed, constant hay, constant input costs? Or are you trying to have some goats to just clear your land? Maybe you just spent thousands and thousands of dollars with having people come in and excavate mesquites out and clear out pasture land to plant hay and plant all kinds of stuff. So if you know, maybe that's one of your goals. You're trying to keep all that money that you put in clearing your land, keeping it down, and that's why you have the goats. Another thing you got to think about is if you've got, you know, 20-30 acres and you're thinking, you know, maybe 2 or 3 goats an acre. If you want them to be on that year round, you got to start thinking about, well, you do have cross fencing, how often you're going to rotate. On the fencing topic, you know, what is your fencing situation? Do you have a good perimeter fence of, you know, net wire or 4x4 squares, or are you planning to do it all with electric fence, which is primarily what we do? A lot of the land that we run the goats on is lease land, and a lot of it's cattle land, cow pastures. It's all barbed wire fence. You obviously cannot keep goats in with barbed wire. So you start thinking about electric fence. The more goats you have, the bigger the pastures are going to have to be, meaning the more time you're going to have to put into moving these goats constantly, whether it be every few days, every week, every 2 weeks, depending on the season. So as you can tell, there's a lot of contributing factors. Those are just a few that go into, you know, how many goats can you stock per acre. For this instance, right now we have these goats in a 40-acre pasture. There's about 150 goats in here. It's pretty wooded. I'd say 90% of it's wooded. There's a big creek bed that runs through the middle of it over here. But there's a lot of stockpiled grasses in there that these goats are nibbling on. There's acorns and whatnot. So, and we planned this pasture specifically for them to kid in. Here's that creek bed. It's obviously it's dried up, but we planned this pasture for the kids to kid in because there's so much cover for these goats to have their kids. They'll put them up underneath these tree trunks and in these gullies, keep them up out of the wind. So, you know, that's another thing you got to think about. So if you want to do the math on that, these goats have been in here for, I don't know, about a month or so. 150 goats have been in 40 acres, and they're going to stay in here up until probably March, April. So until those kids are a little bit older enough, maybe they're a month older, to go ahead and get them moved to the next pasture. That's definitely something you got to think about is what do you got for fencing, and what can you use that's already there, and maybe put something over it, add some barbed wire, add a couple hot wires to it. And everything costs money. So that's another thing. You got to think about context. So what's your situation? Are you trying to run 250 something all goats like we are with just me and my wife with some help every once in a while? Because moving this fence is not easy. This net wire, electric net wire, is not the easiest thing in the world, but it's very, I guess, I wouldn't say it's a permanent fence, but it definitely is better than using single strands of hot wire where coyotes and predators, and not only that, but goats can get up underneath and learn if they can go underneath or over something. So just leave it at those few quick bullet points on as far as how many goats per acre. There's, like I said, a lot of contributing factors that are going to give you your final answer. And kind of just like anything, it's by situation basis. Do you have 500 acres spread out across miles and miles of leased land? Maybe you've got 100 acres here, 200 acres there, 20 acres here. Uh, and you got to figure out how you're going to rotate them. There's a lot of logistics that come into play with this question. So the best thing I could say is, you know, kind of try it, start small, and then see the workload that you and whatever help you have can handle, and then grow from there. The biggest thing we would stress is, you know, don't try and start too big at once. If you try and if you go get 200 goats at one time and you throw them into a fresh pasture of electric fence, you know, without any training to the goats training to electric fence, you're going to have goats that go through it, get stuck in it, die. You start losing goats to that. You know, there's just, you know, there's so many key factors that you're going to have to think about. And if you want more help with that, we can give you some help. You can send us an email or message us on one of our social media pages and kind of let us know your situation, and we'll kind of run through some questions with you and, you know, kind of work it out with you guys and kind of somewhere to start if you're looking for somewhere to start. If you're thinking about getting into goats, you don't know how, pretty much anything. Just we're always willing to help get you guys going into the goat industry. And please, guys, if you guys like what we're doing, if you guys like what we're putting out there, like, subscribe, share. You know, share it with all your friends and whatnot. Another thing you got to think about is obviously your landscape. You know, what do you got for feed? What do you got for food? A food source. Are you in, you know, an arid climate? Are you in a pretty wet climate? So think about that. Are you going to be planting feed in the winter to have a winter feed source? Or are you going to rely on stockpiled grasses, acorns, and stuff like that? Or maybe you live in a place where there's not many trees and not much grass, not much rain. So all that's going to contribute into how many goats you can have. Some places could maybe have, you know, 6, 7, 10 goats per acre, and some places could have 2. That's if you're not wanting to supplement at any time during the year. But if you've got, you know, 5 acres and you've got a barn and all that stuff, and you're planning on feeding once a day or something like that, you know, your numbers start to go up. But with that, we stress the tighter you have these goats in quarters, the more chance you have of sickness starting as well as spreading. So that's definitely something to think about whenever you're trying to figure out how many goats you can have in your area. We try and put a video out once a week or so, kind of just throwing out what we get asked a lot. So if you guys got something else you guys want to know, we can add it to the list. But like I said, everything takes time. These videos take time to put together and edit and whatnot. So we appreciate you guys liking and sharing and watching.